So we're talking more about food chains today, and here's a simple food chain where you see the sun sending energy to the producers. Some of that, I need my pen. Some of that energy is lost, and nobody uses it. Energy moves from the producers to the primary consumers when the primary consumers eat the producers, but a lot of that energy is just lost as heat or lost by other means. Again, here at the next level, when the frog eats the grasshopper, some of that energy is lost as well. And then some energy is lost here. So in other words, the frog is using some energy just to hop around and find a mate and find food and do whatever it is that it does. So not all the energy in the frog level is getting into the next level. So the transfer of energy from the sun to producer to primary consumer and then to a higher order consumer can be shown in this thing. This thing is called a food chain. Food chains show available energy. So if there are 1,000 units of energy in the producers, then just cut out a zero. There's only going to be 100 units of energy in the first level consumers. And cut out another zero, and you're going to have 10 units of energy in the second level. And then cut out another zero, and you've got 1 unit of energy. So, boo. So in other words, about 90% of the energy is lost at each step of the way. So here's another food chain that I just wanted to show you because it shows the food chain that occurs aquatically. So aquatic means water, and in that case the producers would be algae. And then the first order consumers are zooplankton, and then you've got small fish, squid, and sharks. So the producer traps the sunlight to store food, and then here's your first order consumer. Second order consumer are the fish, the squid is the third order, and the shark is the fourth order. So if the shark ate the small fish, it would be both a fourth order and a third order consumer. Here's the difference between a terrestrial food chain and an aquatic food chain. Aqua is for water, so this happens in water, whereas this one happens in land. Both have producers, they're just different. Both have primary consumers, again, they're just different. Secondary consumers, tertiary consumers, and the quaternary or the fourth order consumers, again, are different. One thing that it's showing here is that herbivores are also called the primary consumers because they're the ones that eat the plants. Food webs are more complicated and more realistic, and so that's what I was hinting at earlier. This is showing you the interactions that are much more likely to happen um, in real life. So this is a more realistic path of energy through an ecosystem made of many food chains put together. So here's a food chain. You can see it's, or food web. It's much more complicated than the other ones that we were looking at, but if you spend some time looking at it, it's really not so bad. So we've got the producers. Here's a producer, and this tree is a producer, so we'll put check marks next to the producers. And then the arrow goes toward what's eating it. So you can see this arrow like this. Ooh, boo. Okay, so we'll put maybe a dot on the guys that are eating the the producers. So the deer is eating grass, and let's see, the grasshopper is eating grass, and I think that's a caterpillar eating the tree. This little thing is confusing for some students. This is supposed to show a spider web and a spider, so that's not necessarily showing you this guy eating this. So the dots are showing the herbivores. Now some folks are eating, oops, you know what, I missed one more. Here's a chipmunk, and that's eating the nuts or whatever, the seeds or something that came from that tree. Okay, so the next step is maybe this mosquito. So I'll put a box around that. So the mosquito is eating the blood from the deer, which got its nutrients and its energy from the grass. So in this case, the mosquito is actually second order, second, first, and then here's the producer itself. Here's another example of one that would be a carnivore. So here's a mouse, and it's eating a grasshopper that ate the plant. Let's see, here is, let's see, that's a spider, and so the spider is eating the insect. Okay, so here's number one, here's number two. This spider would actually be number three in this food chain, and then here's the bird, which would be number four, because it ate the spider. You could also look at it as number two, because here's a caterpillar that it was eating the leaves, and then the bird ate the caterpillar. So in that case, it would actually be a second order consumer, not a fourth order consumer. So this is obviously a much more complicated interaction than the one that we just saw before, and it's a much more realistic one. How many food chains are in this food web? You can pause this and spend a long time trying to count them, but I'm not. Here's just another one, but it's in this case an aquatic food web. And so the thing that you should notice here are the producers, the plant phytoplankton. And then this one is interesting. It adds in decaying matter into this one. So that one I hadn't added into them before. Here's another food web. Again, you've got the grasses as the producers. Here's your primary consumers or herbivores. And then the next level up is showing you the carnivores. Okay, trophic levels. This one's important. So each level in a food chain or food web is called a trophic level. There are producers. They would be the first trophic level. And then this is how energy enters the ecosystem. So the sun to the producers. Then the next level is herbivores, and they would be the second trophic level. And then carnivores would be the remaining levels, or omnivores. So each level depends on the one before it for energy. So let's take a look at this. Producers are called the first trophic level, and 99% of all organic matter is at this level. Here's herbivores. We call these the primary consumer. Now here's the confusing part. Oops, go backwards. Consumer. Okay, so these are the primary consumers, but they're at the second trophic level. These are the third trophic level, but they would actually be the secondary consumers. And here's the fourth trophic level, but the tertiary consumers. So with trophic levels, you just start in a different place. You start with the producers. So the secondary consumers are in the third trophic level, for example. The confusing thing here is that the primary consumers are in the second trophic level. I just said that. Anyway, don't worry about it too much. This is the important part out of the whole trophic level thing, that you understand ecological pyramids. So there are a few different types of ecological pyramids. The first one that we're going to talk about, well, an ecological pyramid, what is it? First of all, it's a graphic representation. In other words, it's a picture of the relative amounts of energy or matter at each trophic level. So I'm going to show you a few different types of those, and this is where the whole trophic level thing gets important. So you can have an energy pyramid, or a biomass pyramid, or a pyramid of numbers. All three look like pyramids, except, oops, let's make that look kind of like a pyramid. Okay, except sometimes a pyramid of numbers looks a little weird. So energy pyramids show the transfer of energy in an ecosystem. So in other words, the producers, if you look at this pyramid, you've got mostly producers here. So let's just start by looking at the energy that the producers get, and we're just going to call that 100%. They're not really getting 100% of the light that shines on the planet, but let's just start off calling them 100%. I had talked about before 90% of that energy going away as heat or as whatever. Here's 10% of, only 10% of the energy from here is here. And then only 10% of that energy goes here. So if you're looking from the total 100, here you've got just 1% of that energy, and here's 0.1%, and if there were another on top of that, it would be 0.01%. So you're losing an order of magnitude at each step. So the thing to remember from here is that most of your energy is in the producers. Here's just another representation of that. Here are the producers, and they've got the biggest area, and then there's less energy available to the consumers and less energy available to the next level of consumers. So the amount of energy available decreases for higher consumers. It takes a large number of producers to support a small number of primary consumers. It takes a large number of primary consumers to support an even smaller number of secondary consumers. So here's an energy pyramid. We've got producers, first order consumers, second order consumers, which are also called carnivores, and then third order consumers. And you lose energy at every step. Goodbye, energy. Goodbye, energy. Goodbye, energy.
Hey, look what I found on the floor.
Hey, kiddo. So, I think I'm going to be done here.